person that just came in. Your name.
Francia?
Didn't see you. You're in the class? You're okay, I see you. There we go. Okay. I have just about everything online. So it'd be best if you sit at a computer. Actually, if everybody could be at a computer. And I guess the first question is, do you know how to boot up Macs? I presume many of you are PC users. The username is student. The password is media, M-E-D-I-A. Sorry about that. I believe it's all case sensitive, and so it needs to be lowercase. That computer isn't working, so you're going to have to just watch. But I would encourage you to take some notes. Go ahead and take a seat over here. And your name is?
Alberto?
That's your last name? I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Median?
So you're typically the first, these are all people who haven't shown. There's one other person who's going to be there too.
What's the name of
The username is student. The password is media, M-E-D-I-A. All lowercase. Let's see. That computer isn't working very well, but that might be the best we can do. There's one here. Best we can do. So everyone's here for Art 195, 3D modeling for animation. In this class, we basically teach you how to build the models that you will use in the animation class. In the animation class, you take existing models, and Chris Wilson teaches you how to move them from point A to point B. In this class, we learn how to use the modeling tools to build them. We also focus on surfacing, so that once you build a model and you view it in wireframe or you view it in shaded view, then what you do in order to make it look like a real object, and learn how to build surfaces with different mapping techniques in order to make it look really real. We also work on lighting. Because in Lightwave, there's lots of different kinds of lights that you can use, just like you have different lights in the real world. You have incandescent lights, you have fluorescent lights, you have a whole series of kinds of lights that you can use for lights. So that becomes really important as well. So those are really the three main focuses. Mostly building and surfacing, and then lighting to make it really real. Because you can have a beautifully built model, it can be beautifully surfaced, and if it's not lighted properly, it looks horrible. You know, it's just like in the room, you turn off all the lights and you go, well, hey, look at what I did. And you can't see it. Well, it's the same thing. So everybody's got their computers up there, right? I'm trying to make my classroom as paperless as possible. So I'm trying to put everything online. So what I need you to do is go to my website. At the bottom, there should be a little series of icons in the dock. And go ahead and just open Safari. Safari should be about the third, fourth icon over to the left. That's, for those of you who are not Apple Macintosh users, that's Apple's browser. Is there anyone? Yes. So where I would like you to go is, it's Kmart 66, like the store, no spaces.com. And ta-da, there we go. So this is a blog I started this past year. And what I have on here is from time to time, I try to do it at least on a weekly basis, but during the summer, I didn't write anything. I try to, if there are little extra tutorials or if there are things that catch my eye, like this TED Talk that I think would be inspirational, be interesting to everybody, I will post it and make it available to you. Most important though, for you, not that this isn't important, because I think these are useful, these are the things that I post on here. Because for example, there's a lecture that I did on typography. And if you're taking my Photoshop class or my Illustrator class, it's not a typography class, but Illustrator in particular has some really, really powerful typography tools. Well, if you don't know anything about type, it's hard to make use of it. So I have a lecture on typography, and I have the notes available as well as the lecture on video. So I posted that. So things like that. What I would like everybody to do, so that you will get these, I hope that you will receive notification when I post something, is where it says here, enter your email address and subscribe. Go ahead and do that. And then I will show you the places you need to go. And from here, from home, you can go wherever you like. Go whenever you like. Zip. So have a seat. Whirlpool. Go ahead and take a seat over. Yeah. Well, there's one. Is there somebody seated here? I can't see. Oh, okay. Hard to tell, you guys that are back there. It'll be the end of the semester. He's wearing a hood. He's behind them, and I won't even recognize him. Okay, so everybody subscribe. So for those of you not at a computer, or if you, did you do that last during the summer? Did you get notification when I posted this? You did, okay. But when I post my This Week in Class, you don't receive that. Okay. Well, then I'm going to have to post something every Sunday night so that you'll be reminded. So this is what you should do every Monday morning, every late Sunday night, depends on when I do this. Is that you'll notice right over here on a little section that I title Bulletin Board. If you go to This Week in Class, this is what you'll see. This is what we'll be doing this week in each of the classes that I teach. And Part 186, Illustrator, Computer Graphics and Design, is listed first, and they go in order of the numerical order. Next one would be Art 192, which is digital imaging, with Photoshop, and the third one is ours, right here. It's Art 195, 3D modeling for animation, and it'll let you know. Monday, I'm just going to give you an overview. No classwork assignment is for you. That's all you have to worry about is purchasing your textbook and materials. And then below that, well, what do you need? We have Lightwave 9. That's what we're going to use by Dan Allen. So if you forget and you don't like to take notes, then what I've done for you is that you can look at this is what it's supposed to look like, and then you buy it. You can purchase it at the bookstore. You can purchase it from Amazon. You can purchase it from many Borders Books and Music. You can purchase it from Barnes and Noble. Any number of places you can purchase it. Just to let you know, the bookstore charges list price, and it is not cheap. It's about $60. Okay. And you do have to have the book. You don't have to buy it immediately, so take your time this week to find the best deal possible. Because a good part of what we do in here is monkey see, monkey do. Buy, head monkey here. I demonstrate and show you how to use the tools, and then you follow suit, okay? But once you get acclimated to the program and you learn how to use the tools and the procedures that you follow in order to build models and to take them to completion, then what we do is the tutorials that are in this book, there's a variety of exercises from how to build a car to build a head to, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of them. There used to be in the last one a giraffe that was a really good one. And later this semester, for your final project, you'll have a choice. Which one of these do you want to do? It depends on what you're interested in. Okay, and you'll be able to follow the exercises in the book, but in order to do the exercises, you have to know how to use the tools. And that's what I teach you how to do. Okay? But, so this is Lightweight 9 by Dan Avlin. And if you want to purchase it from Amazon, you'll notice that this is a link. You just click here, and this will take you directly to Amazon's website, and you can purchase it from them. Notice that they charge $47 instead of $60.
Those are the used.
What's that?
The used ones are for like $30.
Yeah, if they have a used one, and used ones generally come in pretty good condition. I've purchased used books from them before. And many of them are almost, it typically doesn't include shipping. It's still a better price than what you're going to get here at the bookstore. But I realize some of you are on financial aid, and you have to account for your purchases, and you have to buy it from the bookstore. And if somebody else is picking up the tab, and you need to purchase from the bookstore, then fine. Okay, then make it easy on yourself. So it is imperative that you buy the book, but you have some time. You don't need to purchase it immediately. The second thing that you will need, and this you do need to purchase right away, and it's probably the cheapest item, is a flash drive. Everybody know what those are? Anybody not know what those are? They look like this, but this isn't a flash drive. This is a dongle for lightweight. This is a little USB connector. It's for storing data. Just plug it in the side of the keyboard or in the front of the computer. The front of the computer has both USB and firewire ports. So it's best that you don't save data on the hard drive here. If you do, there's a good chance it'll be gone when you come back, especially if you put it on your desktop. This has been loaded with a program called Deep Freeze, and what it does every time you log out, it puts the computer back to its originally configured condition. So any extraneous files, changes that you've made, they all get turned back to the original. So everything that you've done will be gone. So this I would have for Wednesday. Just even if we tinker and we do some little things to learn, get in practice saving things and make sure that when you do save them, you put them on there. And for lightweight, there is, we'll talk about that Wednesday, a particular, I won't say order, but way that you should save your files and create some specific folders and save them in a specific way to make sure that you can find them when you need them. These can be purchased anywhere. You can go to Staples, you can go to Office Max, you can go to the bookstore, you can go to Fry's if you want to wait in line. They sell them for a few dollars. Buy the one, I think, with the largest capacity, storage capacity that you can afford, because you will use it not only for this class, but for other things as well.
How much memory does it usually use?
46. I have to tell everybody I'm deaf in my left ear.
Oh.
So even, especially for those of you on this side, when you talk, I don't hear you. And when you're over here, there's a little bit of noise going on from one of the computers. There's a fan or something, and that even makes it difficult for me. you're unlimited.
Based,
So,
okay. Based on the work here, how much memory should we need?
the minimum size available, even if it's 128 megabytes or something, it should be adequate. But if you're going to afford a little bit more, you know, if you can afford a gigabyte drives are pretty inexpensive now. That'd be a nice one to go. Because you're in the Photoshop class, that follows this. Photoshop, you know, bitmap, the raster programs tend to take a lot of, they're memory hogs. They take up a lot of space, the files take up a lot of space. So if you're going to use it for things in addition to this class, which I think most of you will need a bit of. So on that, and the third thing is a notebook to take notes. And I do suggest that you do take notes, even if they're simple notes, you know, for key commands that I mentioned, you know, in order to save and to convert to polygons or something like that. You know, just P, okay, P equals, you know, convert to polygons or something like that, so you don't have to keep referring to. You won't find it in the book. We have a manual you can use. So that's really, those are the only supplies you need. So that's $50, $60. You can also, from this site, if you're curious to see what kinds of projects that we do on here, I think most of you are, right? Let's go back here. And if we come down here, don't look at artwork here, this is my artwork. But if you go to Kirk's classes, and this will be another place that you'll go frequently. So click on Kirk's classes. And actually this is taking you to another website. And we will cover this in a minute, handouts, because that will be important. So when I give you an assignment, or tell you that maybe we're going to do a scanning demonstration or something, so this is where you'll find a handout that I had on scanning. Then this is where all of those are, or maybe some other websites that are helpful. Like if you want to buy the software, there's different places that you can go. Okay? But for the time being, right now, now, the ones for this class are more near the bottom, and they start right here. I have 8 of them. One of the assignments that we've done in the past has been a toy. This is probably the simplest toy that you can do. It's built principally using primitives. Primitives are basic forms such as cubes, spheres, cones, cylinders. But you'll notice in here, in this particular piece, how beautifully it's executed, that he's taken care to notice little details like the fillets along the edges. Fillets are the little curved edges. You'll see, for example, on the monitor, it's not a perfect edge, it's slightly rounded. And why that's important is because you'll notice the highlight here, it catches light. And those little things are what really make the object look believable. The other thing is an attention to surfaces. You can tell without looking too hard that what this material is made of is plastic. You know, that it has, that it's solid colors but slightly reflective. Catches light, reflects light. Very different than the surface it's sitting on, the tabletop, which is extremely reflective, probably a glass tabletop. And you can see the Rubik's Cube reflected in it. Another thing, even if you've taken traditional drawing classes, one of the things that they should be teaching that really makes an object appear two-dimensionally in a real three-dimensional space are shadows. In shadows, where you set up your lights and the kinds of shadows that you have will also will be important to creating things that look really three-dimensional. So it's very simple. It was not hard to build, but it can be tedious to take the time to make sure that the surfaces are done correctly, look like the material that it's supposed to be. Look at little details like the fillets to make sure that those are executed properly so that it looks believable. And then the lighting, make sure that it looks like it makes it look like it's in a real environment. And also what's nice too is that once you build it once, like most computer programs, you can duplicate it multiple times, and it doesn't take you any time for that. A lot of the final stages of working with models is just sitting there watching grass grow, just hitting the button on the computer and letting it go through the various stages it needs to go through, and then see if it comes out the way you hope. Sometimes you have some happy surprises, and sometimes you don't. You have to go back and tweak. So a toy assignment is one that we do. Another one that I've done in the past, early on, and I'm moving it now for more of a final project. But one of the things that 3D modeling is used for, aside from film and animation, are to build architectural models, virtual architectural models. And so you can build exterior models of buildings, you can build interiors, and this is one that is particularly nice. All the furniture, the carpeting, the floors, wood, the fan up here, and pictures on the wall, and flat screen TV. Very nicely done. Another toy, a model, Twang, very nice. For the final assignment, if you are so inclined, if you really are interested in building figures, this is probably the hardest thing to do, is to model head. There's DVDs that we have with extensive tutorials, but if you're so inclined, that you can watch and follow, and there's also tutorials in there to do some basic ones. For the toy mannequin, wish he would have put it in the darker environment so that it really showcases, but he modeled it in surfaces beautifully. Really, really nice. Another head. This one was really nice too. A lot of people like to do robots. Edward did a really, really nice job on this. Plotted beautifully. Another toy, clock, whatever. So these are the kinds of projects we'll be doing in class. The first major project that we'll be working on is actually we'll do it together. It seems to have been successful that, by doing it this way, is that we will build the first model together, major project. And it's from an old television program called Reboot. Anybody seen that? That was probably one of the, I think it was the first CG television show that came out. And we'll take one of the models from a picture of it online, we'll just download the picture and use it as a guide, and then we'll build it part by part. And it's made entirely of primitives, but there's a lot that you can do with it. There's lots of tools that allow you to bend, distort, change the features of an object to make it look the way you want. And working in 3D is different from working in 2D. It's very, very different. So if you've used Illustrator, Photoshop, any other 2D program, as soon as you add that third dimension, and if you're taking the animation class and you're working with time, which is the fourth dimension, that really adds even more complexity to all of this. Okay? So these were done all by students like yourself who had no prior experience. It just depends on how much time you want to put into it. Okay? Any questions so far? You look confused. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go back home here. Actually, no, I'm gonna go to handouts. That's where I'd like you to go. From time to time in this class, when we're learning different modeling techniques, there are some tutorials that I will use that are available online. You can all download or watch. And one of the places to go would be NewTek. So if we go to NewTek, and we click on Lightweight 9, and we look up here under Training, you'll see under Written Tutorials, there's lots and lots and lots of them. Surfacing and texturing, UV mapping, animation, modeling, and for example, one of the ones that we would do in here, when you're starting to work and learn organic, techniques more for organic modeling. Let's see what it is over here. Yeah, let's look at modeling the cup. Okay. So it's a little video tutorial with some written comments, and this is what it's supposed to look like when it's completed. So it looks like a ceramic mug. It's not difficult, but it's the same techniques that you would employ to build a head, basically. And you watch and follow along, but I will be doing this along with you so you can see the different techniques using bevel, whatever tools that we'll be using at the moment. Okay? So that and for the Adobe classes, also helpful. Tripod is something that we use in the web class. If you're interested in buying books, here's an Amazon link here. There's also, if you're interested in, it's not helpful for you in this class, but just about any other class you might take here or anywhere. Lynda.com, how many of you are familiar with that? Yeah. If you spend $25 a month, you have access to thousands of tutorials that are videos that you watch. And you can watch them again and again and again. And they're very useful. That's how I stay current. You know, it's the only way you can do it. To try to read everything is impossible. So, you know, I try to spend some time every night, definitely every week. And, okay, this is something I need to brush up on. It's for web design, my CSS skills or something. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to watch some tutorials on cascading style sheets, things like that. Unfortunately, they don't have anything on Lightweight. They have stuff on Maya, and I think they have stuff on I'm not sure what I'm saying. 3D, maybe 3D Studio Max, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a month-to-month subscription, so you can start and stop it whenever you like. And it's $25 a month, which isn't a price to have for as much as it's available to you. In their Lynda.com. Lynda's been doing this for a while, and they're probably some of the best. But anyway, here's a link. For purchasing software, there are 3 links. There's Creation Engine, there's US College Buy, and Journey Ed. So for example, if we went to Creation Engine, and we wanted to purchase Lightweight. So we're putting the Lightweight. Let's see what pops up. Okay, there's some Lightweight books, so you can actually buy the books here. Let's go down here and mute that. We don't want to upgrade, we want, it depends on whether you want the printed manual or the electronic manual. And the manual is quite large. It's about yay thick. It's big. So if you only wanted the electronic manual though, not a bad price, $185.
That's the program?
What?
That's the program?
Yeah. And that's a very, very good price. It's getting more and more competitive. But the only thing that you have to do is you have to prove you're a student. So you'll have to scan and upload a picture of your photo IDs or something like that. As an instructor, I would have to scan maybe one of my IDs or a pay stub or something like that, prove that I work here, and then they can sell it to you. Okay? So if you want to buy the software, and I don't know, how many of you already have the software? How many of you work at home and work with anybody? Typically there's one or two. Are most of you PC users? Okay, it's available for both. It works well on both. It should be a smooth transition. There are sometimes a couple of glitches going back and forth. I know we're in Adobe products, there's none. There's no problem. Lightwave sometimes it's a little bit of a glitch. And although we do have 9 loaded, I'm not sure that all the dongles have been installed for all of them, so we'll probably be working first at 8 until I'm sure. Which I'm not too thrilled about. It's okay. It's still, you're not going to use any of the really advanced tools just for some of the changes. Okay. For my syllabi in grading, you'll go here and we'll go over here, lightweight for the assignments. And they're available as PDF files. So if you're in Safari right now, we click on classroom procedures, we can go ahead and download. And we have this, I have the syllabus for each of the classes, the syllabus for each class. So let's take a look at classroom procedures. And I'm just going to cover the highlights. It's my grading system, rules for the classroom, things like that. You know, eating, smoking, using drugs, whatever. You know, that's what we have in here. Sometimes there are glitches depending on the browser you use, but with Safari, it automatically loads the PDF files for you. So let's start with the first rule, and I'm not going to cover all of these in detail. No smoking, eating, or drinking in the classroom. I allow you to break 2 of the rules. No smoking in here, but I do allow you to, because it is a wine class, bring tea or coffee or water. The only requirement that I make is that you have a lid on it. And I prefer, like I set this back here, so if it spills, it's not going to spill on the keyboard. But where you guys are seated, it's best if you actually, and I should be doing this too, put it on the floor or set it away. So it has to have a lid, and then just set it on the floor. If you're going to eat, sit back away from the keyboard. I had one woman that liked to have potato chips at breakfast, and then the keyboard would get all greasy. You really have to get, we do have these wipes and various things, you know, clean monitors and keyboards and stuff. That's kind of a nuisance. So if you're really going to eat, you know, be messy, then go out. But, you know, pick up after yourself. And everybody in my class seems to use pretty good judgment, because we're only, I know 3 hours sounds like a long time, but when you're working in these programs, that time can be eaten up very quickly. You know, you don't need all of that time. Okay, to build some of these, because it can be taken various stages. They can be very tedious. Some parts will go quickly, some will go very slowly. Okay. You know, it's supposed to be prepared. You know, that sort of thing. Pacing yourself, which is important. I know it states in here that I grade or take off points for late work, for tardies, absences, and everything. I don't do that anymore. But, so what I do is that I tell you that you really need to pay attention and to pace yourself, and then I will be telling you, okay, the project, we really need to be turning it in by the end of this week. If I don't get it by the end of the week, it's not a big deal. But if it lingers and you know, go too many weeks beyond that, or too many days beyond that, it's eating up time for your next assignment. There's no way to make up that time. There's a few ways if you were able to work at home, or we have a lab class that I'll talk about when we're done. So it's important, and I'll tell you, you really need to be tidying it up and finishing it up the best that you can and turn it in, and if you can come back to it, wonderful. If you can't, you can't. Just let go of it, because you can work on these things and put hours and hours and hours and never be satisfied. So that's important. If you're having trouble with a technique or a tool or understanding the project or whatever, then let me know. So it's important that you communicate with me. Because if I see you working and tinkering away, you say, I gotta leave early, everything's okay, everything's okay. But, I rely on you to communicate with me to say, you know what, I'm having a hard time with this right now. I need help with this tool, or I'm not understanding this, so that I can, when I'm done lecturing and we're in lab time, I can help you individually. Okay? And you can always email me too. So, typically when I'm done with my lectures is when we take breaks. If you really need to take a break, then take one. And make it short, and then make use of our time. We come back and we have lab time. Then it's like you work until the class is done. And if you need to take another break, then you don't need to ask my permission. You just get up and go and take a break. Okay? But I don't say, okay, it's 10 to 11. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Sometimes, if I'm lecturing a long time, then I will do that. Say, I need to take a breather. It's time to stop for a few minutes, grab a cup of coffee or whatever, and come back, and then I'll continue. But normally I don't set aside times for breaks. Just because I think the time, said a moment ago, the time that we have in here is kind of precious, and you'll need it. Phone etiquette. I should probably change my phone. See, mine is set to vibrate and ring right now. I do not ban these things from the class. The only thing that I ask that you do is set it to vibrate. So that when you do get a call and you're in class, you just pick it up, and quietly say hello, and you step out of the room, take your call, and when you're done, come back. Simple as that. And that seems to work pretty well. Okay? I will say, this is point number 5, if you are absent repeatedly for a long time, it would really be helpful if you're not going to continue with the class, email me, so I know. But there are people who are gone for periods of time and then suddenly they return, and if I drop them, I have to reinstate them, and it gets kind of messy. It can be done. But just a simple email, say, I don't have time to drop it, please drop it, or don't, I've been sick, or my family's been sick, haven't been able to come, don't drop it. Little things like that. Emails help a lot. I'm at the computer all day and all night, so emails are the best way to communicate with me, not my telephone or my office. I don't even know the password anymore to my voicemail, so. Okay. So those are basic classroom procedures. My grading procedure relates, it's project-based. There are no written tests. Your tests are the projects. They're like take-home exams. Does that make sense? So it's, I don't hand out blue books, or don't test and say, okay, now give me the key commands for this or that. You just expect to learn it and demonstrate with projects that you've learned teaching. So those are your tests, the projects. And we don't have many of them. We have maybe 3 projects, and that's it. And it doesn't say, oh, that's easy, only 3 projects. But when you divide the semester into, 16 or 6-week increments, that we have 3 projects, about 6 weeks each, that doesn't give you much time. Especially when you consider, okay, maybe we're going to spend 2 weeks building the model. 2 weeks building the surfaces and getting them to fit and nudge them so that they look just right. And then leave myself another week or two to adjust the lighting and tinker with the rendering settings to make sure that where my camera is set up, that everything is staged properly and it looks the way I want it. You know, that goes fast. And if you linger too much on one part, you will shortchange yourself in some other way. And it's easy to say to yourself, I'm going to spend all my time on my modeling. You know, and you can eat up 4 weeks modeling, and then you're going to try to hurry and surface it, hurry and light it, hurry and render it, and it shows. It's like, oh, it's beautifully modeled, but it really comes up short in these other areas. So when we get to the point where you're choosing your own projects for the toy or for the final project, depending on your level of ability and your level of comfort with the program, I will tell you, based on what we've done so far, pick something, because I don't tell you what toy to pick. I don't tell you what final project to pick. Pick something simple, because as simple as it may appear, like the Rubik's Cube, it's just made of cubes. There are elements of that project that can eat up a lot of time when you start to look at details and make it look believable. You're building things from scratch. It's very similar to working in a wood shop or a metal shop or something. You're taking a sculpture class. It could be working with a hunk of clay, working with a hunk of wood, and now you're starting from scratch and you're building it, but you're also building all the screws and the nuts and the bolts and everything to put it together. And there's some things that you can do to create shortcuts, and other things that just go way around it. You're going to have to actually take the time to build those little parts, and there's going to be all kinds of stuff. So we have basically 3 projects that we do. They're all, they're not graded equal. The first 2 are graded the same. So I'll say it's 10 points each. Okay. And the final project is worth points, so it's basically half your grade. And the way I try to work with that, so that's my grading system here, point system, is that, if you show in your final project that you just do this masterful piece, and the first 2 projects aren't so hot, I will give you the benefit of the doubt and weight it towards the final project. However, if you do really well on the first 2 projects and your final project isn't up to the level that you've done on the first 2 projects, then I will grade them, as I say, the way I've weighted them. 50% for the final and 50% for the first 2 projects, and just average them together, and then that's what you get. Does that make sense? So if you got A's on the first 2 projects, and you got a C on the final project, or a B, then I would just average them together. If you got an A on the final project, but you got maybe a B and a C on the first 2 projects, I would probably give you an A.5. Because that was your part of the learning curve. It took you time to get acclimated, but you really showed that you worked hard, that you did what you had to do, and pulled it together at the very end. Okay? Does that sound fair? Okay. There's depending on where we're at with time, there's a little head piece that I want you to watch on creativity. And the fellow makes a very pithy point about, in order to be creative, you have to be willing to fail. And he specifically states, this failing does not equal creativity. But in order to be creative, you have to be willing to take a risk and fail. And that's something that I want you to do. That still doesn't mean you come in for 10 minutes and tinker with it and leave. It requires a lot of work. But if I see you in here working hard and it still doesn't come out, you'll get the benefit of that. Okay? So effort does count in all of my classes. Okay? So that's grading system and classroom procedures in a nutshell, and if you want to look those over in detail, I encourage you to do so. A lot of it's kind of boilerplate, and I think has to be there. If you want to see the syllabus for the class, it really will be, it's a protracted or a completed view of what you'll see in this week in class. This week in class, I just take each one of those and I post it. So this week, this is what we're doing. Sometimes I will change the order depending on everyone's progress. Sometimes I'll slow down, sometimes I'll speed up. You know, if everybody's moving along pretty quickly on a particular point, then I'll move ahead, you know, faster than maybe what the syllabus says. If I need to slow down, because you know, in class as a whole is having difficulty grasping a particular concept, then I will slow down, and we'll spend more time on it until you get it. Okay. Want here the assignments. It used to have room, furniture, toy, final. It's now instead of the room, the furniture, we do a rewritten assignment. So I had to change that. I started that this last year, and it was an experiment so that we would work on a project side by side until you understood the process. And for some, it's confusing because I try to, you know, talk as I'm working, and so I'm trying to let you know this is what my thought process is, because sometimes it's not absolute. You know, as you're thinking, you know, as you're working on a project, you think, well, I'm going to use this tool, and you try to go, well, wait a minute, no, that tool isn't working the way I had planned, so I'm going to undo a couple of steps, go back, or maybe open a previous version that I had saved, and I'm going to approach it from a different tab, you know, and try something a little different. And then I'll try my best to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, and so you get my successes as well as my failures all combined together. When we're done, you end up with something that's pretty nifty. And that should be, you know, and as we're doing that, I'm introducing new tools and that sort of thing. So it's the class is dynamic. Questions from you?
Okay. What other programs are there besides Software?
The two, or there's three high-end programs: Maya, 3D Studio Max, and Lightwave. There are some other ones too, though. There's, I think it's Rhino. It's a lower end, but it's more intuitive. There's also
most studios have their own proprietary. Most studios have their own proprietary program.
well, yeah,
Doesn't
on
matter what
the
you
high
do.
end, if you were going to go to Disney, you know, you're going to go to Pixar, you're going to go to Industrial Light and Magic, you know, ILM, they have proprietary software. They don't buy stuff off the shelf, or if they do, you know, they tear it apart and their programmers rebuild it for them. So fundamentally, all of the software that you'll see, even if you were to use their proprietary software, is the same. It's based on the same math that built all of it. It's as I explained to somebody earlier, it's, for example, when you go into someone's house and you walk into their kitchen, you know that there is a drawer somewhere in there with pots and pans. You know that there's a drawer with silverware. You know that there's a cupboard with seasonings and things like that. And there's another cupboard where they put their glasses and their dishes and stuff. But the first time you go in there, you're kind of groping around going, well, you know, this is where I would put it in my kitchen, but it's not here. It's over here. And that's really what a lot of these are. They're just fundamentally the same, but slightly different. It would be the same as a stove. You know, all stoves fundamentally work the same, but electric ones are a little bit different than gas ranges, and you know, it takes a while, but they're all the same. And it's the same with software. Form Z is another one, which is a good one that is used by a lot of schools, especially for architectural models. I'm trying to think. there was another one that we used to use a long time ago. Strata Studio Pro, I don't even, are they still around?
Unfortunately,
Huh?
it's still around.
They're still around. For an introductory program, it was really good, but it falls short in a lot of ways because you can't use subpatches or meta nerves or anything unless they've changed it. It's been a long time since I've used it. I've seen some really beautiful things built with it. And for it, when we first started to teach it, it was a good introductory program. But everybody's moved beyond that, I think. And I don't think they've kept up with the times. So those are some. And they're all worth investigating. The popular ones are Maya and 3D Studio. And lightweight comes in third. I think dollar-wise, it's a better buy. And you're going to have, there are lots of bells and whistles. Go to NewTek's website, and look at their galleries and look at what people have done. There's some really, really impressive things. I think it's really impressive. I'm a generalist, so I can do some things pretty well, but there are people in there that clearly way beyond mine, really way beyond. Because that's what they do. They're doing it 60 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. And I'm teaching half a dozen different software packages. So I'm good, but not great.
Okay. How do we just, the question is, what's the process for running the program online?
Let me handle that afterwards, because I'm recording this, and then I'll get, as soon as I'm done recording, we'll do it. Okay, and we'll go through the steps, and they'll generally, I want to buy this, and you go, and you purchase it, and you put in all your data and your credit card and everything, and then oftentimes they'll say, okay, you need to prove that you're a student. So if you have a photo ID, and you have a JPEG or a GIF of it or something on your computer, then they have a place for you to upload it. Otherwise you have to fax it. But we'll go through more. Other questions? And I presume, well, I shouldn't presume anything. How many of you are interested in the animation part of it? Are you taking it concurrently? I would recommend, if you're not familiar with 3D modeling, that you take the modeling first, or that you take it concurrently with the animation. I think you'll do better. If you take it out of sequence and you take the animation first, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. At some schools, like Art Center, they require that you take modeling first. There's no way that you can take animation before you take modeling. So that you get the lay of the land, understand how the software works, how to build models, how to light them, surface them, and then you can learn how to animate them and to rate them afterwards. Other questions? I'm sure there's something that I'm forgetting.
Is there a class after this one?
There is, 12:30, there is, I teach a Photoshop class. There is a lab class available on Tuesdays and Thursdays that's taught by John Doyle. He doesn't really teach anything, he's over here. And that's not to put John down, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12:30, those are considered the holy hours here, because that's when we have meetings. Everybody work at companies where there's meetings. Well, they're considered the holy hours because classes are not available to be taught by full-time instructors. Because it's instructions as we do in the past would be to make sure on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12:30 that they had a class so they wouldn't have to go to meetings. Well, you can't teach a class during those hours. So, since there are no classes by full-timers that can be taught, we have the labs open, and as long as you're taking one of our computer classes here, it's a one-unit class. You have to basically show up, and Doesn't, he checks it for here and he tries to help you. And you have extra 3 hours a week to work. And for this class, that can be very valuable. So if you have the time, if you're on campus Tuesdays and Thursdays and you have that time, I encourage you to stop by and talk to John. In fact, you can talk to him after his class as well. Other questions? If you want, or so inclined, you want to know about me and my education and experience and that sort of thing, let's oh, come on. If you go to home, this is my personal website. And if you're wondering why Kmart, I've written a little piece about that. And here's my resume and samples of my work. Let me stop the video. And I want to show you a little 20-minute. You want to take a quick break?